Okay friends, one of the first things that we want to do is safely raise and support the truck so the rear wheels are off the ground. After that, we're going to remove all 5 of our lug nuts and then remove the wheel. Now with the wheel out of the way, we have a nice clear view of our caliper right here. The next thing I want to do is pinch off this brake hose right here. This is going to restrict the brake fluid from making its way down to the caliper. Make sure you have a collection bucket under this area because we're going to break this free. Okay, now that we have this broken free, I'm just going to snug it for a second, and then we'll come right along this area here and remove both of our mounting bolts. Just going to put this in just a couple threads here. We'll remove the lower one now. Now let's fully remove our banjo bolt. Brake fluid's more than likely going to come out of your caliper. Now let's come up here, remove our bolt, then remove the caliper from the rotor. Okay, so now over on the bench, the next thing that I want to do is go ahead and pop the pads right out of here. Okay, now it's going to be time to prepare our brand new caliper. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and tip it and remove our caliper sliders. Now with those out of there, let's set this aside and we're going to move along to dealing with the bracket first. You're going to want to use a little bit of caliper grease on this. I'm going to come along this edge here, all inside this area, and then just right up along that lip. Do the same on all 4 corners. Now that we have all 4 corners done, let's continue on to putting on our tins. Looking at the tins, you're going to see that you have 2 different types here. You have ones with the little flippy-doos that face out to one side, and then 2 that have the flippy-doos that face out to the other side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab one of each of these, and then we're going to install them onto the caliper bracket. You want to pay attention to them though, because you have this area here with all the little pitons that come shooting out. You want to make sure that that's not facing in towards where the rotor is going to go. You want it facing out and away. Also, you want this little flippy-doo that comes down along like this, along the bottom. So just go ahead and make it so those little things are coming out to the side, and then the flippy-doo comes out along the bottom. Do the same on all 4 corners. Now we're going to take the caliper slider. I'm going to lubricate that all along the shaft area here, and then you also want to make sure that you get up into this grooved area right before the threaded area. Make sure you get up inside there. After you have it semi-coated, I'm just going to go ahead and put this right in here and then spin it right around. That's going to make sure that the entire thing gets coated with the grease. We'll do the same to the other one. Now we're going to deal with the muscle part of the caliper. This is the area where the piston's going to be. You want to, of course, make sure that you put a little bit of lubricant along the metal aspect of that piston, and then right along each of these ears. All this lubricant is going to help with vibration dampening and noise reduction. Now let's take that caliper bracket, we're going to slide it right over and install our bolts. I like to use a little bit of red thread locker on these. We'll go ahead and snug them up and then we'll torque them to manufacturer specifications. Now let's torque these to 46 foot-pounds. Now we're going to take our pads, install those. Okay, both pads are in. Now let's get these sliders out of here. Grab the rest of our caliper, slide it over the pads. Go ahead and put those sliders right back in. Okay. Now let's torque these to 20 foot-pounds. Now on the back side of the caliper, we're just going to go ahead and pop this little rubber grommet out of here. That's going to help keep the debris out of there. And now we can get ready to reattach our flex hose. You want to pay attention to it. If you see the copper gasket still on it, you want to make sure you get that off of there because we're going to go ahead and replace that. There we are. Double check the other side. If it looks as though it needs to be cleaned down, go ahead and clean it. Now let's grab our banjo bolt. We're going to take one of our brand new gaskets here, slide it right on there. Grab that flex hose. You can see the little piton here. That piton is going to line up to the caliper. So we want this to come through from this side, straight through. Now take your other gasket, put it right on there, and then put this into the caliper. All right, it feels like it bottomed out right there. So now the next thing I want to do is just give it a little bit more of a turn. And that's going to help make sure that we crush these gaskets. Give it a little wiggle. Make sure it's not loose in any way. Assuming it looks good, go ahead and take these off. Now with this all together, let's go ahead and gravity bleed this. Just go ahead and open it up and let it trickle out until you see fluid. Okay, now let's go ahead and close it, and we're going to have to manually bleed it. Now it's going to be time to manually bleed the brakes. First, you want to get up top and you want to make sure that your master cylinder is full. After that, you're going to have a second person inside the car and they're going to pump up the brake 3 to 5 times. That's going to go ahead and push out this piston and get any air that's inside here all the way up to the top. Go ahead and pump it up slow for me, please. Now that they're holding, the next thing that we want to do is go ahead and open this up. While we open it, we want to be paying attention for any air bubbles coming out. Okay, each one of those little spurts right there was a tiny air bubble. We want to keep doing this until there's no more air in the system. Go ahead and pump it up. Now that time we got a lot less air, but I did see one little air bubble, so we need to continue until we have no more air. Go ahead and pump it. Okay, that last one, I had no air in the system. If you wanted to, you can continue on bleeding it just to double check, but for me personally, I feel confident that this is good enough. You can go ahead and release that brake pedal. Okay, now at this point, what you would want to do is just go ahead and clean this down, get off any of the remaining brake fluid, and then put on your bleeder screw cover. Now it's going to be time to get our wheel back on. We'll start all the lug nuts, snug them up, get the wheel back on the ground, and then we'll torque the wheels to manufacturer specifications. Now with the wheel back safely on the ground, we're going to continue on to torquing the lug nuts. To torque the lug nuts, there's going to be 2 different options. If you have aluminum wheels, which is what I have here, I'm going to torque these lug nuts to 97 foot-pounds. If you have steel wheels, like you could take a magnet and have it stuck right to it, those you're going to torque to 154. Torqued. Now, of course, you're going to want to get under the hood and double check your master cylinder. You can see where the line is that says the maximum. You want to make sure you're full to that point. If you're not, just go ahead and pop this up and then fill it with .3 brake fluid. After that, make sure you put your cover right back on.